Hey everyone, Merric here, and this is the Beginner's Guide. Ever since this came out, I've been avoiding hearing anything about it, and been wanting to play it for you guys, and experience this raw, so let's get this started. I'm very excited to get into this, so let's go. I love what the Stanley Parable was, so I can't wait to see what they did with this one. Audio is on. We understand the controls. And here we go.
There. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Wreden. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game.
Oh, I'm excited
As
about
each game
this.
is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Oh, this is exciting. So exciting. I love introspective games. I don't know why my camera is doing this rotation thing. I think it might be because I have a joystick plugged in. Yeah. Okay, fix that. Alright, let's get started.
Warning. Whisper machine active. Shift destruction imminent.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Okay. That's broken. Broken hallway. Don't want to go down the broken hallways. This is a narrow ship. It's very tiny. Okay. What's the whisper machine? I hope this isn't horror related. I really hate horror.
Security call reached. Hostile alien life forms inbound.
Yeah, this is horror.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development.
Oh.
For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized.
I did good.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I did good. Can you see the top? No, just the bottom. I love that the bottom of the universe is just a gray box. He didn't put a skybox in properly. That's funny. Nope, not door doesn't open. What are these dots for? Oh no, I'm out of ammo. Oh no. The whisper machine's gonna get me. Any secrets? Nope. What's over here?
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it.
Oh.
Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Oh, I like that he does that. That's funny. True Stanley Parable style.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Okay.
Hey,
Pretty.
you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Huh. Would I throw myself into a beam that will certainly kill me in order to disable it, that would destroy the thing that's going to kill everybody on this ship?
This is not a branching point, unfortunately. The only option is to step into the beam.
Well, that's fine. I'm having a conversation here. If I do this, I save a disembodied voice that may or may not just be the computer trying to get me to kill myself, or I save one or more people in the ship. From a narrative speaking, that's a really interesting question to ask a player. Would you kill yourself in a game to save everybody else, knowing that it would end the game? I don't know. I don't know. If the option was, I get to live, but other people die, I have no idea. I mean, obviously, if the option was, if I don't do this, everybody dies, including myself anyways, that makes it a little bit more of a, well, if I'm gonna die, I might as well die for a reason, as opposed to, well, then we get into the questions of, are these actually good people? Do they deserve to live? Am I the one that gets to decide whether they deserve to live or not? I don't know. Stuff to think about. And dead.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Huh. We can't save the ship. Does it go all the way back? Oh, it would have been really cool if it just restarted the game, or that sequence. Oh, haha. Okay, so he fixed it, and before we became
The beam causes you to start floating.
an angel.
And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Oh, still November 2008. Okay. Can't move. Oh, now I can move.
Yep. In this game, you can
Oh.
only walk backwards.
The past was behind her. Oh, this is trippy. Oh, that's a really unique perspective. Huh. Okay.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment
future cannot be
combining
seen.
motion and narrative.
Wow.
It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Why does the future keep changing? I don't know. When she stops and looks, it becomes clearer. Huh. To the door. But if the future is always behind her. How will she find the strength? Oh, this is cool. To confront it. Oh, my door!
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that.
That's a cool experience.
Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Okay. Had to get a drink. And obviously we're in a scary place. We're now entering. It's a very on rails experience. Okay, I can't go back.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting. Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games. I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him.
Huh.
And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Okay, so I can't jump off. I have to go up the stairs. Do I? I wish I could sprint. It's a very slow pace.
I know it's tempting, but there's actually nothing over here. Sorry.
Well, there was you talking. So I'm gonna explore the other places, see what else you have to say. So, yeah. Alright. It's a very empty world. I wonder how much of this the developer of the Stanley Parable actually added. David, I think his name was? Yeah. Like, did he add the music and sound effects in order to actually make these things a little bit more polished and playable, but didn't fix any of their major bugs? Except for when he was making a point. Like before, he fixed the bug of where you were supposed to die when you stepped into the light, and then showed you that in the original game you didn't die, you floated up into the universe. So obviously he fixed some runtime bugs, but maybe he didn't actually fix everything, but just kind of polished it. That's what I'm trying to say. So there's nothing else in the level, just these stairs. And we're slowing down and stopping before we reach the top.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
So if I go the slow way, am I gonna get something special? It's really interesting that he chose to... Can I go backwards? Yeah. That he chose to put the door at the top of the stairs and slow you way down to a crawl, like 0.01 speed. But you're still progressing. It's not like he's actually stopped you from progressing. And I could just be reading too much into the game, because it could be that he just thought he had a message and then never had it. But I don't know. I feel like that the point was the struggle up to the top. And it's like, are you really committed to getting there? Oh. You start in a small room until you realize you can just walk through the walls.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
Oh. You
Coda
said
would
on
often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Huh. That's interesting. Kid has some really interesting ideas. I say kid, I have no idea how old Coda was. I mean, I have no idea if I'm older than that person or not. This really gets me to think about some of the games that I've started and never finished. And it's like, why? Why did I start them? Why didn't I ever finish them? What was my motivation behind them? Should I finish them? Should I release them as they are? You know, questions like that, they plague people that are creative. And I mean, everybody's creative in their own way, but somebody who wants to build like a game to share with somebody or write a book to share with somebody, there's always this crushing self-doubt as to whether that product is good enough. And for some people, it's just easier or maybe feels better to just put that thing away and not work on it. Or even if it's finished, to just put it away. A good example is Stephen King, and whether you actually like his work or not, he wrote a story to start off the Dark Tower series, which is a epic series that he has just now gotten around to finishing. But he started it way back in the day when he first started writing professionally, because he wanted to write an epic on the same level of Tolkien's epics, so The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But he never felt like it was good enough, so one day he just threw it away. He threw away this amazing universe that he was creating and this amazing body of work that he eventually came into, because he felt like it was bad. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was his wife that found the manuscript and pulled it out of the trash, dusted it off, and put it back in his desk. And later, I guess he found it and decided to finish the book and publish it, and it became, I think it's a 9 or 10 part book series, and it's a really good series. I really enjoyed it, and if you like Stephen King's work, I would check it out. It's hard when you're your own worst critic to actually put something out there and let people see it. So, you know, I can relate. Maybe that's all I'm trying to say, is I can relate to that, as I'm sure many, many other people can. It's not a unique experience to want to share something, but not have the confidence to do so. Or even the will. That could be a thing.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Okay. So we're looking for some way to open the other door. First thing we're going to do is we're going to run around the room hitting E. Okay, up. I can't see. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I was stuck on a wall. Do I have a flashlight? I don't. Because that would make things too easy, wouldn't it? Aha!
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon.
Well, close the door.
We're going to see it a lot.
It's a fun little puzzle. These dots were in the last game, so I think that might be one of his signatures, these little 3 dots. I don't know if I saw them in the first game, I wasn't paying attention, but I'm betting that they are. Okay, so it's a one-way down. 3-dot texture. Alright, bet that door is going to close.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
No walls. Oh, holy crap. what are all these other puzzles? See, that's the thing about games. And
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
Okay, I was just about to say that. You get out of my head, Mr. Man, narrator guy. Alright? So, like, in games, you actually never know what's in the outside world, what the design actually looks like, unless you get to it in the game and are shown it by the design of the game. Or you break the game and you use something like no-clip and clip through the walls and you see what it looks like. This is what a game looks like in 3D space after it's been designed, and you have a bunch of hallways just kind of floating in a void, and inside the hallways you have everything, and outside of the hallways, unless you build a world around it, it's this, a bunch of tubes running through space connecting to blocks that are vaguely room-shaped. Usually they're just squares, and all the interesting bits are on the inside, because there's no point in rendering the outside world if the player isn't going to experience it. It's expensive to do that for no gain. So you render as little as possible. And like windows and stuff, they're easily fooled if you don't have to have an outside to build a little outside for that window, either using a flat image or just put a square there and put the outside world in that square. And then when you look at it, you're seeing the outside world out this window, but not really. You're just seeing the perspective that the designer wants you to see. And the fact that we're getting to look at this game kind of without the designer's intent by doing things like disabling the walls and seeing all this is really, really cool. Okay, let's get back to it. Oh, we're back here again. Oh, can't go that way. Oh, he's got ambiance now. You're now exiting.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
It's like the Joss Whedon universe where all the movies are connected except for cooler. The Great and Lovely Descent. Oh. There's a house. We're in the middle of a snowfield. Or just an empty scene. We're gonna say
Let's
snowfield.
Talk about video game development for a second.
Okay.
Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Right. Like Unity, which is what I use to develop the games.
To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source.
Which is the
Like
Half-Life
all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Well, I mean, the Source engine, which has made Half-Life and Portal, is very much a square-loving engine, and most things have hard edges. Now, it's as it's evolved as an engine, it's gotten better at being less blocky and more geometric shaped. loving. The interesting thing is it's all engines have something they excel at. So like the Unreal Engine excels at really, really high graphics, and it's fantastic at shooters and first-person stories and things like that. And the Unity engine excels at well, it's starting to excel at high graphics, but it really excels at small teams making interesting games, but they're not giant open world games such as the Unreal engines would support. So Unreal it has a lot of beef behind it, and Unity's getting there. In the recent version, Unity 5, it's basically completely shed a lot of the issues that it has, introducing a lot of new ones, but it's capable of doing a lot more than it used to be able to well. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't get Unity to do something on the level of Unreal. It just required a whole lot of work that its particular niche market at the time didn't want to do. That was the indies, the 1 or 2 man, 3 man crews kind of doing this in their spare time. And then the Cry engine is a fantastic engine for shooters and a pretty decent engine for motor control. So, airplanes and spaceships and stuff like that, and cars did fairly well in that engine, but it was a very good shooter engine as well. And, each engine has its own special thing that it really excels at, but all engines are capable of most things in the right hands. So while the engine and the tools will guide what you can do, there's nothing actually stopping a developer, if they have the tools, the know-how, the time, and the money, from taking that engine and making it do something it was never really designed for. Again, it just comes down to time, money, and know-how. Okay, enough of my rambling about game development. Let's go check this room out. The Streetwise Fool. I kind of like that name for a restaurant. Let's go upstairs first. Coda seems to like stairs, so we're going to the stairs. Door. Door. No door. No door, ho door. Okay. Well, can we jump over the rail? We can. Fantastic. Oh, that must be glass, or I am stuck. No getting stuck. Okay. I like these pictures. Just real life pictures just plastered on there. Oh, that opens. How about the bathroom? The bathroom opens. No toilet sounds? Did I do that? I may have. I am hitting E an awful lot. So we only have one bathroom and it's handicapped. I don't know if that works for a restaurant. I guess it depends on your local regulations. Okay, there's some stairs. Can I get over here? I can, but nothing happens. Okay. Well, I guess we go down the stairs then. We'll shut the door. Can't open that. The Streetwise Fool turns into a puzzle. That's a neat perspective. Whee! 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 Oh, if you don't like heights, that view will make your butt clench. Alright, here we go. And jump. Got it. I'm the best puzzler ever. Is there fall damage? Because if there is, I'm about to take a whole bunch. Okay, nope, there's no fall damage. Good. This world has some problems. Like, if this is where they store the meat, a dish is going to cost like millions of dollars, because this is a pain in the ass, and I bet you lose a lot of chefs to the fall. Whee! Oh, I think we got lucky on that one. Gonna skip some. No. Oh, okay. Okay, I made it. I may have expedited it a bit by just falling off the edge, but hey, we're here. And there's glass there, so I can't jump anymore, so we're gonna take the stairs like a plebe. That's different. Did anybody see the 3 dots? Because I didn't see the 3 dots anywhere. I'm curious now. I keep forgetting to look for that. But I feel like that's a signature. So let's try to look for the 3 dots. I mean, we did skip most of the level with not looking for it because I was too busy rambling about game development. 3 dots? No 3 dots. Oh wow. This level's actually fairly large. It's over here. Okay. Nothing. Huh. Is this a prison? Do we have, like, a prison underneath our restaurant? We do. Ah, shit. Now I'm stuck in here. I just came down to get some Brussels sprouts. We're out of Brussels sprouts. Oh, man. Brussels sprouts? No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm gonna go back. Can I jump out? Can I just get the Brussels sprouts and go? Oh man, the things I do for that tip. It's an elevator? Okay, so now I'm in a cage.
Funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
Oh, we wanted to sit here for a full hour and not do anything but scratch at the walls. Okay, we're gonna skip that part. A full hour before letting you go? That's
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
No, there wouldn't be. So, it's an interesting question. I'm going to pause this so he doesn't move on. Is a game that you can't finish playable? Now, I would argue, as a programmer and as an amateur designer, I don't consider myself a professional designer by any extent. I have a business partner who handles that because he's much smarter than I am. Is a game that you can't finish playable? I would say yes. I would say if the intent is not to finish the game, but the intent is to experience the message of the game, then the game is absolutely playable and worthwhile. But, and this is the big caveat, if the game is not engaging enough to compel somebody to play it and experience the message that you're trying to convey, then it is not playable, whether they can finish it or not. So I'll give you an example. Minecraft. Wildly successful game. If you don't have the tutorial, so if you picked up the game and it did not instruct you in any way on how to play the game, and it did not tell you could punch a tree with your bare hands to cut it down, or punch the dirt with your bare hands to get a block, the game would not be fun, because it would not be playable in the sense that you could experience the message. And does Minecraft have a message? Absolutely. The message is, you, as the player, can build whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You can build a house, you can build a railroad, you can do whatever you want, as long as you can figure out how to do it in the game. Now, if the game didn't tell you, and there were no tutorials or anything, how to do any of that, and it was up to you to figure it out, Would it be fun? That's subjective. It's up to you. Is it fun to walk around until you discover that you can do something? I would say that the developers and the designers knew that the answer for most people would be no, so they put a tutorial in to show you that you could punch a tree and punch the dirt and get blocks to then begin building the world and shaping it and bending it to your will. So, is a game that you cannot finish playable? Yes. What does Minecraft have to do with that? Well, if you can't get on my logic, I don't blame you. It's kind of out there, but I've never actually played a game that wasn't something you could finish, because most games that get developed have the intent of you play through the story, or you experience the level or the puzzles, and then you finish it. As far as I know, I don't know of any games that were actually published and released in the last few years that were actually designed in such a way that the player cannot finish the game, because that's the point. I think that would be a really cool way to develop a game, but I think if you were trying to get a publisher, it'd be really hard to do. So, like, in this day and age with indies, you definitely can get away with that as long as you're good enough and design the game well enough to exist in such a medium. So, man, this game is going to just spiral into a metric crap ton of drivel, like what you just heard. So, I apologize in advance. We're going to move on to the next chapter, and then we're going to wrap this up. So let's go ahead and finish this one out. An hour sitting in that cell. I don't know many people that would actually let that play out if they didn't know that this game would actually let you out of the cell. Because an hour in real life is a long time in a video game, if you think about it, of just sitting. Now, I know that if you're playing a game and you're completely engaged, an hour will just fly by, but just sitting like this for an hour, you feel every minute of it. Okay, here we go. We're going to keep going. I still don't see the 3 dots, by the way. So maybe I was reading a bit too much into that? Maybe not. Maybe I just missed them. That looks like another cell block. So we had to go to prison to get the Brussels sprouts. I understand that Brussels sprouts are a very important item in this universe, but I need them. And I have authorization from the chef. Okay. So this guy definitely has a unique outlook on what games are and what makes a game, well, a game. It's a very broad definition for him, and I kind of like that. Alright. Oh! Blue skies. We're in the yard. There are the 3 dots. Aha, I was right. They are something. So I bet I missed them in the very first game. In the Counter-Strike level.
It's the puzzle again.
Yay!
With the exact same solution as the last time.
Bink.
There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
I think it shows a shift in perspective. That's my interpretation. We're going to see if he agrees, because my interpretation is that you go through a door, you flip a switch and you go through a door, and it's a dark door, or a dark room, and there's a door on the other end. And the only way to shift to that perspective is to go into that room by closing the door you just came through permanently. You can never go back. You're in for good. And then you flip the switch, and your new life, as it were, takes shape. And you go through that door, and you have to move on. It's like real life. You can't go back. Once you accomplish a task, once you make an action, there's no undoing it. You break a plate, that plate is broken. You know, you can't unbreak it. Even if you put it back together, you can't hide the cracks without completely rebuilding the plate. And at that point, it's not the same plate. It's a brand new plate. So, yeah, I can understand why he's using that puzzle to push that perspective. At least that's my interpretation. And again, drivel. So keep that in mind. If it resonates with you, fantastic, but that's just the way I think about it. Okay. Speak, listen. Hey there. Did you come from
Coda
above?
begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
You there, did you come from up above? What was up there? Yes. There was a world stamped with whiteness. Yes, there was an enormous prison I spent hours in. Aha. Yes, there were these floating colored blocks. Did I see floating colored blocks? I guess technically the buildings would be floating, except for we're interpreting what we were walking on as the ground. So I'm gonna go with 1. That's the world above. You've been there. Now it is important. Did you have to get through the door with the puzzle with 2 switches? Or through a puzzle with 2 doors and switches? Yes, I did. It was literally the last thing I did before coming here. No, I don't remember having to go through any puzzle. I prefer not to tell you, after all. We've only just met. I'm gonna pick that one. What? But you don't understand. We're trapped here. That puzzle's our only escape. We need to get through it. You think you want to get through, but trust me, you don't. Let me describe it for you. Let me tell you all about what is over there. Alright, I'll tell you how to solve it. Do I prevent these box people from getting to experience the outside world, or do I let them out? Getting all philosophical in here. I'm gonna say number 1. Oh no, but I do. We need to get there. Do you understand? It is the most important thing in the world. We have to escape this prison. There must be an ending. I promise you, there is nothing I want more. Oh, so I don't get to continue. That was the end, huh? I'll tell you now, but... Oh, they're books. At least you guys have something to read. And a furnace. You know, to keep you warm. Oh, are we getting... Hello, how did you get here? Was there a puzzle you had to pass through? No, I've been here this entire time, yes. Do you want to know how to solve it? So these are different people. That one's got some sass to him. No, we actually find the black space between the doors to be far more interesting. Have you seen it yet? Why would I care about the space between the doors? Actually, now that you mention it, I remember feeling strange as I passed through it. I don't recall the space between the doors. Let's go to 2. See how this progresses. Don't think too hard about it. You'll see it again soon. Oh. That's ominous. Okay. Maybe I should have told the others how to solve it.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
Okay. Is it a street outside? It is a street. No, it's a housing block. Huh.
It's a lamppost.
No.
Okay,
Wait.
I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out.
Well, it's a pretty lamppost.
I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, you know, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something.
Sure.
He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
I have a feeling that I'm going to be completely wrong about everything I just said as my interpretation of the doors. But hey, what's to be expected other than that? The game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All notes you see are left by other players. Huh. Well, we'll experience this puzzle in the next episode. I don't know exactly when the next episode will be up, but yeah, it's gonna be soon, because this is already a really cool experience and we've only been through a couple chapters. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like. If you have any comments, suggestions, please keep the spoilers to a minimum, and please note them so that we don't spoil this game for anybody else or myself. Throw them in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this and you haven't subscribed, consider clicking that good old subscribe button, and YouTube will let you know when I get fresh content out. All that being said, I'll see you awesome people next time.